Hey everyone! While Spider-Man No Way Home achieved immense success immediately after its release, and the majority of fans thoroughly enjoyed the film, judging by audience and critic ratings,
it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
many are still curious about how No Way Home could have looked according to the creator's initial vision. What ideas, scenes, concept arts and plot twists weren't eventually realized, considering that filmmakers had plans to do quite a few things differently. That's why, together with you, we will delve into all the available information about the unreleased content of Tom Holland's third Spider-Man movie. So without further ado, let's get started. First and foremost, let's discuss the scrapped plot of the prequel, which differed significantly from the final version. By the way, based on some information, the film was initially titled Spider-Man Home Run. The main and apparently only antagonist was Kraven the Hunter. And the multiverse, Spider-Verse and the appearance of old villains not only didn't feature in the plot, but weren't even mentioned. In essence, it was not the No Way Home we all know. In fact, there is even information about the inclusion of Daredevil, played by Charlie Cox. Looking into the future, when the studio decided to completely rewrite the script of the film, incorporating Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, it's worth noting that even after this decision, the creators still abandoned the implementation of numerous ideas and the introduction of certain characters into the film. Confirmation of this can be found in the early concept art. Let's go through them now. The inclusion of Mysterio as a secondary villain. In the concept art, the antagonist was present in the final battle, thus complementing the rest of the team of Spider-Force, resembling something like the Sinister Six. Mysterio even had a battle with Doctor Strange. In reality, from a plot perspective, his appearance is illogical, considering that Quentin Beck faked his death to tarnish Spider-Man's reputation in the eyes of the public. And suddenly there he is. In general, it's fortunate that they didn't include him. The introduction of America Chavez. According to the original plan, it was through her that Maguire and Garfield would have entered the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She first appeared in front of Peter and MJ, somewhere in the middle of the film, as clearly seen in the concept art. Additionally, Chavez even featured in the final battle, where she was simply applauding the Spider-Man. In reality, this character was probably excluded from the plot, due to the decision to release No Way Home before Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, although the initial plan was the opposite before the pandemic. Now, let's look at how the most epic action sequences in the film were initially envisioned. Let's go step by step. The bridge scene. In the early concept art, we see the Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus teaming up to pursue Parker, with everything collapsing behind them. Subsequently, they depict the destruction caused by the villains more elaborately. Spider-Man even attempts to hold part of the bridge to save people from the debris. Goblin of the Glider. However, this is more related to the deleted scenes. They also slightly altered Peter's fight with Electro. In the artwork, Dylan's lightning is blue, which differs from the theatrical version. Additionally, Sandman doesn't quite look like himself here, he appears more watery. At first, I even thought it was Hydro Man. The art itself looks quite vibrant, although in the final version of the fight, everything was very dark and gloomy. There are also several concept art pieces of the battle between Norman and Peter in the tower, which you can currently see on your screen, along with their final showdown. There were plans to show an extended aerial clash, including something like a direct collision of three Spider-Mans with Osborn, but we will delve into that in more detail a bit later. By the way, Tobey also faced off with the Goblin face to face. The creators filmed a battle between the old enemies, but for some reason they deleted it during the editing of the film. Now let's take a look at the early character designs, starting with the villains. Sandman. Thomas Hayden Church never participated in the filming of No Way Home, only his voice was recorded. That's why the antagonist in the film didn't take on a human form. Based on this concept art, Hayden Church was supposed to appear in the movie, and his design even differed from the original. The Lizard. A similar situation with him. Rhys Ifans also didn't appear on screen, but he did provide the voice for Connors. In the early illustrations, the Lizard looked more menacing, and importantly, more canonically accurate. Here he even wears that familiar white lab coat. In these concept arts, he appears more akin to some reptilian monster rather than a humanoid, as in the original. Electro. Although this character was already altered in No Way Home since The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the designers still initially planned to give him a different appearance. According to the concept, Electro was supposed to be as close to the source material as possible. In the costume concept art, Dylan's suit also had added green color, and Mac's gear completely covers his body. It was also envisaged that the Electro star on Dylan's head would be constantly present. By the way, it briefly appeared during the final battle, probably as a reference.
So what? Y'all just gonna stand here and act like I ain't butt-ass naked? I am.
Green Goblin. In principle, the creators managed to realize something similar to Osborn's images in the early illustrations in the film. However, there are of course differences. Norman here wears some old tattered jacket, and beneath his clothes you can glimpse the Goblin costume. As for the villain's glider, unfortunately, there are no functional changes, only cosmetic ones, like the broken mask of Norman on the front part of the glider, Dr. Octopus. Octavius here looks as close as possible to his 2004 version, except for his grey sweater. So let's finally take a look at the early designs of the Spider-Man, some of which are genuinely surprising. In this artwork, 3 Spider-Men are depicted, with Osborn standing in front of them. Tobey essentially has his legendary suit as always.
This is something else.
Tom is already wearing the red and black suit he created in Far From Home. In the theatrical version it was different. This could, by the way, suggest that initially Otto Octavius did not turn to the light side, meaning Peter couldn't fix him. After all, it was Octopus who returned a part of the nanosuit to Parker. So if we add Mysterio to all of this, it really seems like the filmmakers wanted to create the Sinister Six in No Way Home, as in the original there were only 3 antagonists as a team, not counting the solo Green Goblin. Looking at Garfield here, you wouldn't even recognize him immediately. Andrew turned out to be wearing the suit from the first Amazing Spider-Man. Apparently, the studio initially planned to use this suit throughout the film, which is quite strange, especially considering that Gwen gave Peter the suit from TSM2. Therefore, it carries some symbolism. The scene of saving Michelle becomes even better because of this, so it's good thing that Marvel decided to use Garfield's outfit from the Amazing Spider-Man 2. In addition to character designs, there are also drawings of unreleased small moments. Let's go through each one now. The battle between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. There is concept art where Stephen throws Peter through a window into some restaurant. Peter is holding an unknown book or a plate in his hands. This is how the cube that Peter stole from Strange was supposed to look initially. Moving on, we see Peter relaxing in a web-made hammock on the rooftop of a skyscraper, and an extended scene in Midtown School, where along the corridor, MJ, Ned and Flash walk with Spider-Man. Surprisingly, there are even drawings of previously planned posters for the film. 2 of them feature Maguire and Garfield. Actually quite strange, since their appearance was a secret until the movie's release. In essence, there is nothing very important or necessary for the plot of Holland's trilogy here, except perhaps the introduction of 2 new characters, Mysterio and America Chavez. However, to be honest, their presence or absence wouldn't have drastically changed anything, and No Way Home neither lost nor gained anything from their exclusion. But you, my dear viewers, click on the like button, subscribe to the channel and write what you think about it in the comments below. We'll see you soon.
All the things I wished I could have done differently.
Now to have a second chance.